And a draw with Scottish Premier Division side Kilmarnock has raised hopes for the new campaign.
We started off where we left last year defensively, where we're not conceding many goals, so hopefully it will give us a good springboard for the start of the season and keep it up for a wee bit longer this time.
Where do you see the main threat lying in the league?
Well, I mean, again, you've got to say Portadown, Linfield. This year I think Colerane's going to give a greater challenge, and Glentoran as well. And then we were just talking earlier on, you can't even write Omo off because they caused a lot of upsets last year. So I mean, it's going to be 5, 6, 7 teams maybe, all fighting for top 3 and 4 places this year. So it's going to be very interesting. I just can't wait.
4-1 at the Oval. Michael Halliday with the opener after good work by the impressive Kevin Keegan. Former international Michael O'Neill then marked his competitive debut with goal number 2 after a piece of quick thinking from Chris Walker. Darren Fitzgerald then struck at the double after the break, the second surely the cheekiest goal of the day. Institute, to their credit, battled to the end, and they were rewarded with a late consolation goal from Stuart Barton.
The moment that turned the game came after 73 minutes when the Slovak referee decided this tussle between Gary Smith and Kamil Kozowski was a penalty. Closer inspection cast some doubt on the judgment. But Kozowski raised himself from the turf and fired in possibly the quietest goal ever scored at the Oval. And just 2 minutes from time, the Glens were hit by another Polish hammer blow when substitute Daniel Dubicki scored from close range. Krakow had been the better side and 2-0 didn't flatter them, but it doesn't begin to tell the story of the Glentoran heroics, particularly from new goalkeeper Elliot Morris. When the Glens defence looked like cracking, Morris was on hand with a string of fine saves, which kept Glentoran in the game until those closing stages. It was a man-of-the-match performance which pleased his manager.
They gave their all for the Glentoran shirt tonight. It's just a pity the way they eventually broke us down. I looked at one stage as if they were never going to break us down, courtesy of young Elliot Morris. But at the end of the day, as manager of Glentoran, I'm very proud of the lads tonight. It was one of those nights that the boy will remember, and I think he's now become a bit of a hero down here. The supporters now, I'm sure, understand just what capabilities the boy has.
We're happy with the performance up to the last 20-15 minutes when they got the penalty. I don't think it was a penalty myself, but we're happy with the performance.
The boys all worked very, very hard. As you've seen, they got up at the gear there. They were a lot fitter. That's expected with full-time football. But I thought we worked very, very hard, and we trained hard up until it as well.
The Glens had many chances. 3 minutes in, Michael Halliday outfoxed Ross Hanford. Paul Key only just getting a hand to it, but where was the follow-up? There was then a stale period until just before the whistle, when Michael O'Neill, returning after wrist injury, saw his attempt dip too late over the crossbar. 0-0 at the break. Whatever Roy Coyle said in the dressing room worked. 2 goals in 5 minutes, the Glens on fire. Despite Jeff Spears and Paul Key's best efforts, Michael Halliday tucked away their first. Then Kevin Keegan, who'd provided the cross for Halliday and had continually threatened on the wing, rifled in the ball off the rebound. An unfortunate error by keeper Key, who had done so well all afternoon. And the Glens attacking machine didn't stop there. Substitute Andy Smith got on the score sheet in the 82nd minute. Nice celebration. And Oval favourite Colin Nixon sealed a 4-0 victory with this goal 2 minutes from time.
Glentoran are a point behind that, but they've played 2 games fewer than the leaders. On Saturday they chalked up a 3-1 win over Newry. Andy Smith's deflected effort opened the scoring before Newry equalised through John Joe Maguire. But normal service was restored in the second half with Glentoran goals from Colin Nixon and Michael Halliday.
Confidence is very, very high, and we're scoring goals. That's 11 in 3 league games, so I mean, confidence has to be sky high when you're scoring that many goals.
Accepted, the Glens could relocate to a site at Titanic Square near the Odyssey Arena. Club shareholders are expected to discuss the proposed move. That will be at next month's AGM. The mood was a sombre one as the chief executive arrived at the Oval Ground this morning. And this is the reason why the last 24 hours have arguably been the most erratic in the club's history. 5th in the table yesterday, the dramatic tumble due to Irish League sanctions now sees them pointless and anchored at the bottom of the Premier Division.
Well, we feel that we have a case to put before an appeal in as much that we've acted reasonably, and I think we can show that everything we have done so far in terms of determining the young players' previous playing history has been reasonable.
To explain this technical transgression in layman's terms, it's the equivalent of sporting bigamy, if you like. In effect, Andy Kilmartin got married while still waiting for his divorce papers to come through. In other words, he was on the books of another football club while having signed here at the Oval. The club will appeal and is due to meet in emergency session this evening. Mark Sidebottom, BBC Newsline.
Last Saturday, the Glens were sitting in 5th position in the league on 12 points. Now they're bottom on no points. Adding a £7,000 fine and a red card from the CIS Cup, it all adds up to a pretty bad day at the office for everyone involved at the Oval. The mix-up over the registration for Andrew Kilmartin has had devastating consequences, and today a stunned Stafford Reynolds gave this reaction.
It is very severe. I understand, that there's fixed penalties and in accord with the rules, but it's still a massive amount in terms of the points deduction and indeed the financial the fine as well.
The club has admitted the error over Kilmartin. He was a professional who played for the Glens as an amateur, and that technicality has cost them dearly. The league accepted that Glentoran had acted in good faith, but they had to abide by the rules. Glentoran may appeal, but the chances of getting this decision overturned seem unlikely.
The Irish League Rules Revision Committee are part of the Irish League, and that's why they are there. They're in place to make these decisions, and I don't think an appeal will work.
It's now emerged that UEFA are unlikely to impose further sanctions, as Glentoran lost their European games in which Kilmartin was playing. Bottom of the league, pointless. The message from the Oval is that the season is far from over.
I know there's enough resolve within our support and within our excellent team and our team management to overcome that. We will still be out there competing, you can be absolutely certain of that.
This will galvanise them. They'll be hurting, and the next few teams that play them will know all about it.
Distillery a warning shot as early as the 6th minute when Gary Smith's free kick rebounded off the post. But 3 minutes later, Michael O'Neill set up the real thing as his wonderful run and chip gave Andy Smith the kind of chance he couldn't miss. The Glens continued to batter away at the Distillery goal, but somehow failed to add to their score. And it looked as though they would suffer the consequences 10 minutes into the second half when Jim McCluskey's shot squirmed under Elliot Morris for the equaliser. However, with little more than 10 minutes left, Glentoran got a lucky break. Philip Major's challenge on Darren Fitzgerald might have gone unpunished in another game, but the referee pointed to the spot and Chris Walker knocked in the penalty for a 2-1 win, which the Glens probably deserved.
Distillery gave us a tough time in the second half, and especially after they got the goal and we dropped their standards, but thankfully we raised it enough to get the penalty kick with a couple other chances and managed to get the 3 points. But overall the lads, the mood in the dressing room's not great because we disappointed in the second half.
Any mistakes were made were innocent, not deliberate, and I think people should take account of the fact that there's been no advantage to Glentoran out of this situation in any way whatsoever. Neither has there been any disadvantage to any other league team. So in terms of league and league points deduction, you have to say that it's pretty severe. It's still worth some examination in terms of the spirit of the law as opposed to the letter of the law.
They had hoped that by asking for the spirit of the law, perhaps to be different to the letter of the law. But when you read the rule very carefully, it's mandatory, and we had no option. Our hands were tied, and we have purely and simply carried out what we have been asked to do.
Well, it's empty seats here at the Oval, and in truth there is an all-pervasive empty feeling right around the East Belfast Stadium. We have little doubt that they will appeal against these decisions. The full extent we will only learn after this evening's emergency session.
Feeling over having 12 points deducted over the Andy Kilmartin registration saga were 1-0 down to Ards when Michael Halliday stabbed in an equaliser. And then 8 minutes from time, the Smiths combined. Gary's knocked down, Andy's tap in. Final score 2-1. Glentoran smiles at last, but it's a long way up. The Glens stay bottom.
The controversy with the Irish League off the pitch seems to have strengthened Glentoran's resolve on it. After a comfortable victory against Coleraine, the Glens intend to continue battling the authorities.
We're talking about something that in reality is trivial, but unfortunately the full rule has been applied to it, and we think that's unfair. As I said from the outset, we acted in good faith. We will continue to do that and we press our case until we have a satisfactory resolution.
The East Belfast club has 2 games in hand, and the players believe they can still win the title.
It's early days still, there's a lot of points still to play for. Obviously the point situation, it's out of our hands now. I don't know what the club are going to do now, but it's out of our hands. We've just got to win as many games between now and the end of the season, and hopefully we can start clawing our way back.
The next fixture for Glentoran is a crunch match with Linfield next Saturday. Stephen Watson, BBC Newsline.
Yeah, and the Glens will not be giving up, you can be sure of that.
Glentoran trained last night knowing Darren Lockhart and goalkeeper Elliot Morris will definitely miss tomorrow's game. Like Morris, Linfield defender Andrew Hunter is also on international duty and the Blues have several injury worries. Even so, the boss is expecting another tight game at the Oval.
Linfield, I'm sure, from their own point of view, had a bit of a sticky start, but they went on a few good results, a good run. They have been beaten in about 5 or 6, something like that there. Ourselves have lost 1 game domestically all season. So the form book indicates that the two teams in the top of their game, and hopefully it will be a good game.
The first Big Two meeting of the season in the CIS Cup ended with honours even, although it took a very late equaliser to save the day for Linfield. But the two captains say there's nothing quite like a Big Two league game.
The atmosphere is absolutely fantastic. Well, most of the crowd are pretty close to you. Glens fans make a huge amount of noise. Our fans seem to make a lot more noise at the Oval than sometimes to do at winter, so it makes the atmosphere a wee bit better for the players to play in.
Definitely a special game, especially with the saga that's went on over the last couple of weeks. But as you say, every Big Two game is a big game, and we're really looking forward to it.
I think it'll be a good hard 90 minutes and hopefully a good advert for local football.
And Ferguson gets it back to McCann. As Walker heads it down, Timothy McCann up against McKnight. McCann has stumbled and fallen. Chance now for Chinez at the back post, can't get his head to it. It'll be in there and it's into the net, and it's a goal for Linfield, and it's Stephen Collier of all people. The trouble for Glentoran all came about when Timothy McCann slipped. The ball came in from the right hand side. Chinez couldn't get to it, but there was Collier to head past Neil Armstrong in the 5th minute of play. Ryan McCann trying to win possession back, and he does so. Thinks about going himself. Ryan McCann hits the shot, and it's into the net, and it's 2-0. When Ryan McCann picked possession up, there wasn't too much on for him. A cracking drive, and Neil Armstrong couldn't get anywhere near it. Linfield concede possession. Timothy McCann, good ball in. Halliday's there, good header, and it's 2-1, and it's Michael Halliday with the goal. That's one back for the home side after 29 minutes. Good jump from Andy Smith. Kilmartin beaten Feeney. Halliday. It's Andy Smith. It's 2 goals in 3 minutes for Glentoran, and Linfield went to sleep at the back and they paid the penalty. McCann drills it into the area. Halliday's there. Gary Smith is there. Andy Smith now, can he back flick it? There's a chance here, and it's into the net, and it's 3-2, and it's Michael O'Neill. Amazing stuff here at the Oval. It was simple stuff from the corner. Big men were up there. Andy Smith did wonderfully well to get it back across, and a terrific finish from the former Northern Ireland international. It's Michael O'Neill. It's Glentoran 3, Linfield 2. Russell Kelly trying to get the challenge in. Another shot coming in, and just wide from, well, it was Timothy McCann eventually get the shot in. Stephen Small, the long throw specialist. Headed away. Collier, oh, wasn't too far away from the second of the afternoon. Noel Bailey. Thompson. Thompson's turned well, a chance for Thompson. The weight of pressure, though, was too much for him. Linfield piling everybody forward by Bar Collier. Chinez with the corner. Glentoran trying to get the ball away. It's still there for Linfield. This could be it, though. Glentoran a 4 against 1, and they've got it down, and this could be a dramatic goal for Nixon, but Manistaw's very well.
Currently 11 points behind the leaders. The only thing that counts these days for Roy Coyle's men is a win, but it certainly looked unlikely on Saturday when they went down by 2 goals in the first 10 minutes.
We were very shocked because we usually start very brightly, but give Linfield their dues. They shocked us, so it did 2-0 down, and it was a hard task to come back, but we've got the quality in the team and it showed, and we come through it.
And come through it they did with 2 goals in quick succession. The first a cracking header from Michael Halliday on 29 minutes. Then just a few minutes later, Smith himself secured the equaliser.
Brilliant feeling, so it was brilliant feeling. Once Michael got the first one, and that set us up lovely because we knew we needed to get a goal back straight away. So thankfully I got the equaliser, and Michael O'Neill had a good finish to get the winner.
The side have certainly showed great spirit since losing 12 league points over the registration problem with Andrew Kilmartin.
We've always been playing brilliant. Our football's been tremendous, and obviously the 12 points, no one talks about it no more. It's done and dusted. We just got to get on with it, and we're playing some good football.
And they'll be hoping for continued success.
In the match itself, an Andy Smith solo effort gave Glentoran a 74th minute lead. And in the dying minutes, a goalkeeping error gave Michael Halliday a tap-in. And McCready said the Glens deserved their win.
There's next week, and we're away to Institute next week. The league will look after itself eventually.
Reading between the lines, do not rule the Glens out of it yet. Jackie Fullerton, BBC Newsline.
Andrew Kilmartin scored a superb goal in Glentoran's 5-1 defeat of Institute at Drumahoe. His registration problems meant the Glens dropped from the top of the league to last place, but thanks to 5 wins in a row, this one sealed by Paul Lehman, the East Belfast club has moved to 7th place with a game in hand over the leaders.
But the fallout from the incident has left red faces both at the IFA and the Irish League, with many local journalists calling for heads to roll.
The weekend newspaper headlines said it all. The IFA directly in the firing line over the Kilmartin affair. First they had the points taken off and now returned after a new FIFA directive cleared the club of any wrongdoing. The only problem, the directive came into being in March 2001.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the Irish League did everything above board here. This FIFA rule, they talk about it at the IFA, they say it's a new FIFA rule. This FIFA rule actually came into operation in July 2001, yet the Irish League weren't informed by the Irish FA of this rule. It is the Irish FA's duty to inform the Irish League. So as far as I'm concerned, the Irish League can say, yeah, we did what we had to do by docking Glentoran the 12 points in the first place. Glentoran, how aggrieved are they feeling right now because they have had to go through all this pain? I'm very happy for the players that they've got their 12 points back, but I'm sure they'll be looking at the Irish FA too and thinking, what is going on?
Angry words, but it was smiles all the way at the Oval on Saturday. The 2-0 victory over Glenavon now puts Glentoran top of the pile, a point clear of Portadown with the game in hand. On the field, the game goes on, but the question marks remain over sections of the IFA management.
The Irish League have looked stupid here, and the IFA have made them look stupid, but let's not take it
returned. There was a party mood at the Oval. Some fans got footballs. Those points were more important.
I'm glad the points are back. It means it puts us back on top where we should be.
We got them back, and that's what it's all about. And sure, we're going to win it now, hopefully. Justice has been done, but quite honestly, the IFA should be honestly looking on their house and getting it in order and leaving the clubs alone.
We were devastated and lost the points, and obviously today we're probably all over the moon. The better we'll win here today, but
against Glenavon, their team didn't let them down, although Andy Smith's red card on 25 minutes was a stunner. But just before half-time, man of the match Tim McCann's left footer put the Glens in front. And 2 minutes from the end, Michael O'Neill wrapped it up. A great 2 days for Glentoran.
The gaffer had always said to us, just leave it with us, leave it with us. You go and do the business on the park and leave the rest to us, and he was right.
Thank you very much indeed, he is. It's a champagne week for Glentoran, of course, as you said, getting those 12 points back. Tim as man of the match. That was a big effort with 10 men for a lot of the time.
Yeah, Jackie, it was a huge task, especially in these conditions. You know, even 11 against 11, you know, you'd been asking a lot. You're asking a lot of both teams, actually. But to lose a man so early in the game, and then lucky enough to get the goal in the first half, you know, it was backs to the wall. But I thought at times, you know, we still played good football and held on to it.
Let's see the major incidents, starting with the sending off, which I thought was slightly harsh.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can see them running through, and I think if you watch it closely, the keeper reacts a wee bit late. You know, I don't know, maybe he might get a wee Oscar for that, you know, I don't know.
What about this?
Yeah, they're going to slag me, but this left foot, Johnny Mathog in the back of the net. And Scott Young does brilliant here. You see the midfielders bursting forward even in the last minute of the game. Michael O'Neill just slots it in very well.
But what a week it's been, particularly yesterday, getting those 12 points back. What was the reaction in the dressing room?
And the reaction was unbelievable. I mean, I was doing cartwheels in the house, you know, and the boys just come in, everybody shaking each other's hand, and everybody knows, we knew what we had to do when we lost the points, and right now we're top of the league, and come and catch us.
Enjoy that champagne.
Oh, well, Jack, you're not getting any of it.
Thanks a lot for joining us, Tim. Back
That's certainly not the case for Glentoran, away to Crusaders yesterday and in front through Darren Armour after 14 minutes. But 2 minutes later, they were hit by a Crusaders equaliser as Peter Marks latched onto a knockdown and a sweet right foot did the rest. The Glens hit the woodwork twice before Scott Young headed them back in front 10 minutes before the break. But back came Crusaders again, just 3 minutes later, as 17-year-old Colin Coates hit a great free kick round the wall and into the Glentoran net. Unfortunately, he also gave away the needless free kick, from which Glentoran reclaimed the lead in the second half. Scott Young flying through the air to head in his second. And just to make sure of the points, Young took a free kick in the last minute to complete the first hat-trick of his career and tighten Glentoran's stranglehold on the Premiership. A cup clash between the league's top two sides promised to be an entertaining affair, and so it turned out to be, with both keepers involved in the early stages. Glentoran probably had the better chances, but the first half hour remained goalless. However, all that changed when Glentoran winger Tim McCann picked up the ball deep in his own half. He set off on a run and switched into overdrive as he surged towards the Portadown penalty area. When he managed to find Darren Armour, the striker continued the move before cleverly beating David Wells. Portadown kept the score to 1-0 until early in the second half, when they somehow managed to get back on level terms. But Wells took the direct route, and when the Glens failed to deal with the high ball, Gary Hamilton did the rest with a lovely finish. But back came the Glens, and with half an hour to go, it was the Portadown defence at fault this time, as the other Tim McCann did the set-up work before Armour finally managed to get the final touch to push the ball over the line. Any hope Portadown might have had of bouncing back again began to evaporate 8 minutes later, as Richard Clark received a second yellow card following a tackle on Scott Young. And they vanished completely as Keith O'Hara launched himself at McCann, who came down heavily on the side of the pitch and had to be substituted. O'Hara saw a straight red as Portadown finished the game with 9 men.
And it was another sub, Michael Halliday, who made it 2-0. But the Glens won't be carried away with their 4-point lead.
We know firsthand last year we were a long way away. It looked like a one-horse race, and we were caught up, so we won't be taking anything for granted. We just keep ourselves right, just keep trying to win as many games as we can.
He's also handed 12 penalty points, which means he will miss another 3 games. Portadown have lodged an appeal and say the player was provoked as he was walking off the park. They allege he was a victim of sectarian abuse. Collins is clearly seen making gestures at the crowd, but Portadown insists he was goaded. They have asked the IFA to now consider the case, taking all the points on board.
And no offside as Darren Armour's header made it 1-0. Then midfielder Scott Young made the run and drilled in number 2. The Glens 6 points clear at the top.
A horrible night to be out at the Oval, but one of the best games of the season so far. Andy Smith opened the scoring for the Glens as early as the 3rd minute, latching onto a Tim McCann cross into the box. But evergreen Trevor McMullen, very assured in the centre of the field, soon equalised for the visitors after good build-up work from Shea Campbell down the left. Darren Armour restored the Glens lead 15 minutes later, however, and then Mark Carlisle turned the ball into his own net from Scott Young's shot. 3-1 at half-time to Glentoran. They appeared to be coasting. But within 20 minutes of the second half, Ballymena had got back on level terms. Not for the first time in the game, Shea Campbell turned Chris Walker inside out before curling a shot into the top corner. And then John O'Loughlin stabbed home from all of 2 yards. Just as extra time was looming, so too was Glentoran's substitute Darren Lockhart, who raced clear to shoot low past Dwayne Nelson. I bent my run, claimed Lockhart, dismissing questions of him being offside. Not as much as Ballymena manager Kenny Shields bent the ear of the linesman after the game. No such arguments about the 5th goal, however. Michael O'Neill, again involved in the build-up. Michael Halliday, another substitute, allowed too much time inside the area. 5-3 to the Glens, and the big 2 meet again. Shields was clearly frustrated after the final whistle, but a well-satisfied Roy Coyle can't wait for Tuesday night's final.
Without doubt, we deserved it with 3. We played the better football. We played the football that got us the 2 goals late on. We kept passing it, and at the end of the day I thought we got the result that the boys murdered.
I think it was Tim McCann played it through. I just remember trying to bend my run as much as possible because there was a marker on me at that stage. Now, I know there was claims for offside, but I think it was on. It'd be nice to see on TV later.
And you're looking forward now to another Big 2 Cup final?
Yeah, it's great that early on in the season that both ourselves and Linfield now have qualified. They are 2 massive clubs, and it'd be nice to play Linfield in the final next week.
Unbeaten in 10 matches, league leaders Glentoran were given an early scare. Mark Holland denied by Elliot Morris. The Glens gradually began to turn the screw as the half progressed. White's keeper Philip Matthews producing a brilliant one-handed save to deny the overlapping Colin Nixon. The home side continued to create chances, Darren Armour coming close to getting a touch to Tim McCann 2's inviting cross. And in the very next attack, Armour looked to have done all the hard work before somehow pulling his shot wide. It was more of the same in the second half. White's keeper Philip Matthews kept busy, this time blocking Scott Young's goal-bound effort. And there was nothing Matthews could do about the game's opening goal. Substitute Andy Smith hitting his 11th of the season. Smith only on the pitch for 4 minutes, reacting sharply to prod the ball home. And Roy Coyle's substitutions paid further dividends. Paul Lehman's left wing cross dispatched for number 2 by Michael Halliday. Halliday back on track after failing to score in his last 3 matches.
Visitors Glentoran were slow to adapt to the heavy conditions and pouring rain, so much so that Newry, with just 1 win to their credit, might well have taken the lead but for some mediocre finishing. However, Roy Coyle's decision to introduce sub Darren Armour paid dividends within a minute when Tim McCann's cross was touched on by Gary Smith and finished by the former Distillery striker. The Glens were celebrating again just minutes later when Scott Young got behind the Newry defence and hit a diagonal shot beyond the reach of keeper Stute Addis. Young could have scored his second after Andy Smith won a penalty in the dying minutes. A fine save by Addis kept it at 2 rather than 3, but victory keeps the Glens well out.
Glentoran are top of the league and playing with great style. Linfield, they've been struggling this season and face into the game with one of their worst ever injury crisis. But you can forget all about that. When these two great rivals meet, form goes out the window.
Berengard on goal, Andy Smith 30 and extra goal himself. Oh, what a pile driver, what a goal!
The two teams in action in February this year in the County Antrim Shield final. Glentoran the winners that night. But this is a game that always is overflowing with great passion and commitment. Glentoran are the favourites, but that doesn't necessarily mean success.
It'd be lovely if all that there happened in reality, but the reality is that it puts you under severe pressure whenever you've been made favourites. And I've been involved in many a Big Two game going way back to the 60s as a player and as a manager right up until today. And there's no such thing as an out-and-out favourite. I don't care, who you sit and talk to. When these two teams meet, forget about everything. I know everybody says it's a cliche, but it's true. You don't know how your players are going to react when they get up there. You don't know where the bounce of the ball is going to go your way. Refereeing decisions, players having an off day. And it all depends on exactly just what happens from the first whistle until the final whistle. And whoever's good enough or whoever gets the breaks, they'll end up winners. I just hope that we can go one better than we did last year when we lost to Linfield.
The Glens moved into pole position at the weekend, courtesy of a 1-0 win over Glenavon. Coleraine and Omagh stay at 3rd and 4th, while struggling Linfield are 24 points behind the leaders in 5th position. So can we expect an exciting title race? Well, Claire McCollum has been finding out.
Having secured the CIS Insurance Cup last month, Glentoran are fired up and hungry for more, and there's nothing they'd like better than to take the Irish League title from Portadown. Roy Coyle's men are currently just 3 points ahead of the Ports, and as we head into the second half of the season, sports journalist John Laverty reckons they're the only two in contention for the title.
It's going to be another 2-horse race. It depends on loads of factors. It depends on whether Glentoran can get over the psychological barrier of dropping so many points in the run-in last year and letting Portadown pip them. That might affect them this time.
In 39 years, Linfield had never lost a Boxing Day derby against Glentoran, and the Blues got off to the best possible start. Davy Larmour fired a superb goal past the Glentoran keeper. Not much Elliot Morris could have done about Larmour's 6th minute effort. An excellent strike to give Linfield a 1-0 lead. But the advantage was short-lived as Glentoran got back on level terms. Certainly the easiest goal Darren Armour will ever score, as Linfield goalkeeper Alan Manus gifted the Glen striker a nice Christmas present. Armour enjoyed the howler, but one Manus will want to forget. A festive faux pas that made it 1-1 at Windsor Park. Despite the blunder, the Blues continued to look the better side. Darren Murphy headed over here. The introduction of Andy Smith up front for Glentoran seemed to make a difference. from this Tim McCann corner. Smith had a goal disallowed when referee Leslie Irvine ruled he had fouled Manus. In injury time, Linfield almost squeezed in a late winner, but Glenn Ferguson's effort was blocked by Colin Nixon, even though the Glens defender didn't know too much about it. Honours even, 1-1. And the pressure off Linfield manager David Jeffrey, for the moment at least.
At Glenavon, Glentoran had legitimate claims for a penalty turned down when Colin Nixon went to ground. However, they did get a penalty in the second half. Nixon again sent sprawling by goalkeeper Paul Rice. This one not so clear-cut, but referee Alan Snoddy immediately pointed to the spot. And Andy Smith was ice-cool with the finish. The Glens 3 points clear at the top. We'll hear about Andy Smith's celebrations in a moment, Stephen, but Glenavon, they're having a hard time, but boy, they made you battle.
That was a very difficult game. There's no question about that. I was very surprised at the way they played, not their commitment, because young lads coming in, they'll always give that to the manager, but the way they played, I thought they did the manager and the club proud.
Now, you thought you should have had a penalty in the first half, but you did get a penalty in the second half, and we can see that now. Roy, what do you make of this?
Yeah, well, obviously Nicky's done the keeper, and the keeper's making it difficult. He's put his body down where there's no way he can go into another stride. So I thought, having it there from that angle, I thought it was a penalty kick. And Andy Smith again took him one away, and as usual, stupid dance.
It's 5 from 3 for Andy, though. He's a great character and a good goal scorer.
Yeah, he is a character. I don't think he's a member of Mensa, but I think he's quite a way to go before he becomes one of those. But no, he's a bubbly lad, and you need that for strikers, because they live and die by results and scoring goals, and that's what he's employed to do.
Start of January, you're top of the table.
Yeah, it's nice. As I said to the players, we achieved our target getting the new year, being in contention, and now you start to go for the championship. It's a long way to go. We're not becoming complacent in any shape or form, but it's nice to be at the top in January.
January, the transfer window is open. Any movement at the Oval? I keep hearing about Shay Campbell of Ballymena.
I think everybody's been quoted as having an interest in Shay Campbell, but we can't do anything about speculation. All we're saying is that if certain players do become available that can be an asset to the team and improve the side, then certainly we'll be in the market.
Yeah, but overall you must be happy with the squad you've got.
You have a tremendous bunch of players, there's no question about that. I think everybody knows about their character, having gone through the situation of being deducted 12 points. They showed everything that a manager wants in players as well as ability, and certainly these guys, they'll go the whole way to the wire, that's for sure.
Right, thanks, Doc. Happy New Year to you.
And to you, Jackie.
Finished to open the scoring at Dixon Park last night, but after that it was all plain sailing. Neat skill in the box here from Andy Smith, and a cool finish from the number 9. Darren Armour made it 2 in 33 minutes. The long ball out from the keeper, nutmeg Ryan Murray, and planted the ball past Malone. Glentoran made it 3 2 minutes after the break. Kevin Keegan, lovely finish. Keeper, no chance. And in 53 minutes it was 4 Marty Hunter's through ball. Split the defence, and there was Smith with his second of the night. And it was Smith who was the provider for the 5th, squaring the ball for Halliday to coolly finish off. 5-0 for the league leaders. They're in sparkling form.
Glentoran took their chance to go back to the top of the Premiership when they beat Cliftonville at the Oval. Andy Smith given acres of space to head in the opener after 8 minutes. With half-time looming, Scott Young's corner was headed away by the Cliftonville defence, but Darren Armour was there to lash it in with the help of a deflection. The second half saw the real controversy in the game. Cliftonville felt the ball was out of play when Scott Young headed it back for Smith to score his second goal. They might have had a point, but the protests went too far, and first goalkeeper Paul Straney and then fullback Liam Fleming were sent off. For the second time in a week, Cliftonville finished a game with just 9 men on the field. Glentoran now 3 points clear of Portadown, with both teams having played 23 matches.
A proud manager, but Portadown's day got gloomier when they heard that Glentoran had won at Distillery to open up that gap at the top to 6 points. The only goal came in 13 minutes, a superb run and vision from Michael O'Neill, who left Andy Smith with a tap-in. The Glens also had goalkeeper Elliot Morris to thank for some breathtaking saves.
When he was called upon, he made 3 unbelievable saves, and that's a quality in the measure of the lad.
It was indeed, and another 3 points for you, more importantly. 6 points clear. Is this a defining Saturday in the championship, Roy?
Behave yourself now, don't be talking silly. there's a long way to go. We're looking forward to the next game against Crusaders on Tuesday night.
Even at the death, Crusaders held on. Gary Smith's free kick, 5 minutes from time, hit the woodwork and was cleared.
It's one of those games that the harder we tried, the less we were trying to, or the less we created. But we'll be positive. We're still 6 points clear, and that's the main thing at this stage of the season.
On the evidence of the first half, it was difficult to tell just who was bottom and who top of the table. 9 minutes gone, Glentoran's defence in something of a tangle. 1-0, Newry Town. Graham Lawler on loan from Bray Wanderers with his first goal for the club. But he has Chris Walker to thank. His poor clearance broke kindly for Martin Riley, and a beautifully fired cross was not at home from 6 yards. 2 minutes later, and it could have been 2-0. Yet another uncharacteristic mistake from Walker, and Martin Riley, who opted to lob from distance, really should have carried the ball forward. Ian Dowie among those in the crowd enjoying the footballing fair. The Oldham boss and former Northern Ireland striker was keeping strum on who he'd come to watch, but he certainly was entertained. On this occasion, Stuart Addis brilliantly denying Darren Armour. 1-0 at half-time, then came the turnaround. Smart money had it that Ian Dowie was here to watch Glen's keeper Elliot Morris, but Andy Smith must have caught the eye. Don't know that he'd fancy a move to Oldham, however. Looks like he's after Diego Forlan's shirt at Old Trafford. That was the equaliser. The clincher came 2 minutes later. Gary Smith, deprived by the woodwork midweek, got his bearings right this time. Final score, Glentoran 2, Newry Town 1.
As at every other Irish League ground, a minute's silence was observed for IFA Vice President Ivan Marshall, who passed away yesterday. It was the Glens who had the first chance of the game in the second minute. Darren Armour did well, but Tim McCann couldn't convert from close range. Roy Coyle's side kept pressing, Paul Stranney with a fine double save from Gary Smith and Darren Armour. Cliftonville didn't lie down, Elliot Morris doing well to save a Ronan Scannell effort in the 20th minute. It should have been 1-0 in the 23rd minute. Andy Smith went clear, but his shot was well saved by advancing Paul Stranney. Then Stranney put forward his nomination for Save of the Season, the Cliftonville keeper reacting brilliantly to push away Darren Lockhart's thunderbolt before the break. Stranney will not make a better save this season. Roy Coyle's side finally made the breakthrough in the second half. Gary Smith heading home from close range from a Michael O'Neill corner. 1-0 Glentoran. That man Smith then saved his side's beckon minutes later, clearing off the line after a Conor Hagan effort. The big defender keeping the Glens on course for the league championship.
Its premiership game between Lisburn Distillery and Glentoran should have been played back in August, and both sets of players probably wished it had been. But with the wind on their backs, Distillery made the better start and took the lead on 17 minutes. John Martin's cross headed home by Chris Coffey. But within a minute, Glentoran were level. Andy Smith found Michael O'Neill, whose volley bounced in front of Distillery keeper Philip Matthews and into the net. The Glens almost took the lead before half-time, but Darren Lockhart first hit the bar, and then Darren Armour couldn't deflect the ball into the empty net. 1-1 at half-time quickly became 2-1 for Glentoran 3 minutes after the break, as Distillery were hit by a penalty award. Andy Smith didn't worry about the protests, which saw 2 home players booked, as he scored in the corner. And Glentoran's second half domination was completed when Matthews did well but couldn't deny Smith his second goal of the game and 29th of the season. Glentoran now 9 points clear at the top of the Premier.
We shall not be moved, sang Glentoran's fans. Well, maybe not from the top of the league, but probably from the Oval. The club's shareholders have been invited to an extraordinary general meeting in March to give their permission to relocate. On the pitch at the weekend, however, it was home sweet home for Andy Smith. His 19th minute strike proving enough to win the match, and more likely than not, end any credible Portadown hopes of catching the Glens. For once, Messrs Arkins and Hamilton didn't score. Elliot Morris in the Glentoran nets just too good. It was a needly game, effectively worth 6 points in the title race. 6 points at stake, 1 for each Portadown player in the referee's book.
The last few games have been a wee bit hell for leather between the teams, but I mean, I think we fully deserved the result with the more clear-cut chances. It wasn't a great day for football, but we stuck to our game plan and come out on top.
The Ports will keep the pressure on as best they can, but aside from the daydream believers, their players and supporters know that it's all over.
He just about got to the dressing room, but you very kindly joined me. Big result, Scott.
It was a massive result, Jackie. We knew today, coming into the game, that if we won, you know, we'd go 12 points clear. And we were out doing a warm-up, we seen the size of the Glentoran crowd, and we didn't want to disappoint them. And thankfully, that's the way it went.
It was a good game, and just one goal, 19 minutes. Andy Smith is 30th of the season.
Yeah, he took it really, really well. I think 30 goals speaks for itself. It's one of the main reasons why we're in the position we're in. And he took his goal fabulously well. Don't know about his celebration, a bit dodgy, but it's the same as his haircut.
He'll go well in the clubs, but 12 points clear. I suppose you're going to tell me it's not over.
Oh no, the manager has instilled into us that we take it one game at a time. We'll enjoy this one, and then on Monday night we've got another big game against Linfield.
Thanks a lot, Scott. Back to you.
This game turned into the story of two substitutes, one who missed and one who didn't. With 88 minutes gone and the game scoreless, Glenn Ferguson lashed in a great shot which Elliot Morris tipped onto the bar. Mark Picking headed down to sub Chris Morgan, who put Linfield's potential match winner over the bar from impossibly close range. No wonder he held his head in despair. So the game went to extra time, with Morris again denying Linfield a golden goal winner. Enter Glentoran substitute Tim McCann. When a Glens corner came in, there certainly appeared to be a case for handball against the Blues, but McCann didn't wait for the decision as he drilled a low, hard shot through the traffic and into the net, much to the delight of the fans and the manager.
Certainly it wasn't one of the classics, but you know, credit to Linfield, they put us under a lot of pressure. They'll be aggrieved that they had a couple of chances that maybe they should have done better. We had a couple of chances should have done better. At the end of the day, we had the rub of the green to get the goal that takes us through.
I was just happy, you know, to come off the bench and, as I say, put on a good performance and, you know, lucky enough score the winning goal. I think Chris has, you know, been on the bench as well, you know, the last few games, and, you know, he had his chance to put his, you know, his name on lights there, but, you know, unfortunately he just miscued it or hit over the bar. But you know, these things happen. You know, it could have happened with Mang, only I was just lucky enough that Mang went into the bottom corner. So you know, that's the way things go.
Tim McCann has been warming the bench for Glentoran recently, but he was the toast of East Belfast last night as he came on as a substitute to score a golden goal winner.
The way the team's playing at the minute, I don't think anybody can beat us. There's a real determination and self-belief in there that we can go all the way here and clean up and win all 4 trophies.
The fans delighted to be in another final and happy with the club's plans to move to a new stadium.
Forward move, you got to think of the future. Like, there's a lot of sentiment about the Oval, a lot of good memories, but you've got to look forward, and a purpose-built stadium, 10,000 would be brilliant.
I'm glad to see it, like, you know, in All Cedar Stadium and all that there, like, you know, very good. Go for it.
Things will obviously be sad, but moving away from the Oval, but it'll be good in the long run. It'll do the world of good.
The management too think it's time to sell up and relocate.
I remember the Oval as a player, obviously, years ago, but I think the climate now has turned it around where we need to go to a new stadium, and hopefully that the shareholders will take that on board and hopefully make a decision that's going to be positive.
And that decision will be taken at an emergency general meeting early next month.
The Glens are now 12 points in front, and you have to wonder who can stop them. In fact, Portadown are now under pressure for second spot from an improving Coleraine. Let's start a roundup at the Oval.
There is a fantastic atmosphere at the Oval for the biggest game of the season. The stage set for the Glens to make virtually certain the title, which had looked an impossible dream when they had 12 points deducted over the infamous Kilmartin affair. This time the prize for the Glens' victory was a 12-point lead at the top of the table. The fans didn't have long to wait for what turned out to be the only goal of the game. That came in the 19th minute, and it was no real surprise that the scorer was Andy Smith, the Blonde Bombers' 30th goal of the season, and, surprise, surprise, there was that trademark celebration. The Ports had claims for a penalty turned down in the 30th minute when Gary Hamilton tangled with Paul Lehman. But the Glens thought it was a dive, and referee Leslie Irvine wasn't impressed. Then, just before the break, Vinnie Arkins volleyed wide. It was hectic stuff, and several players fell foul of the ref, understandable perhaps, with so much at stake. Hamilton was among the players booked, but he went closest to equalising for the Ports as they threw caution to the wind near the end. But they were unable to beat Elliot Morris. So delight for Glens boss Roy Coyle and his players.
We knew it was going to be a very hard game for us, you know, and I put it down, a good team, good physical team, you know, and we knew it was going to be a lot of yellow cards and all, you know, but the boys done well today, and the passion was there.
And another goal for yourself, you're having a great season?
Yeah, I got another goal today. I've just dropped nicely for me, so I did, you know, and I managed to react first, and I got a good contact on it. and that's another one, you know, so I'm pleased.
There's still a lot of difficult matches left. We've still got to play Coleraine twice, Linfield twice, and Portadown again. There's a lot of points to play for. We've put ourselves in a great position, but you know, we've still got a lot of hard work to do.
It might have been a narrow victory over Coleraine on Saturday, but Mark Glendinning's early goal was enough to bring them closer to winning the league.
It's a very difficult game. You know, the pitch was hard and bumpy, and you know, Coleraine's obviously they're a good side. You know, they're third in the table, and we knew it was going to be difficult. You know, at this stage of the season, you can't really go out and play good football all the time. You know, all you're really looking for is results, and you know, lucky enough we got that.
There's no doubt the Glens have been on top form throughout the season. They now have 5 games left in the league, but just one more win will guarantee them the Gibson Cup.
It seems easy, you know, if you look at it in paper, you know, 3 points from 5 games, it seems a formality, but, you know, I can tell you it's not, because we have to play every team once in the top 6, you know, and it's going to be very, very difficult. We have to play Portadown, Linfield, all Coleraine, all again. A lot of tough games, but the way things are going at the minute and the way we're playing, and there's good character in the team, you know, we should do it.
This weekend, however, attention switches to the Irish Cup and Glentoran's semi-final tie with Portadown.
It's going to be a very, very tough game. It's Portadown's, you know, last chance for silverware, and obviously we want to do the clean sweep. Everybody wants to play in an Irish Cup final. It's the biggest day of the year, and just hope that the way things are going at the minute, we can progress into the final.
The Glentoran faithful preferred to watch the league champions-elect rather than the second half in Armenia. Perhaps it was the prospect of seeing goals, and they didn't have long to wait. The Glens took the lead with little left back Mark Glendenning popping up in the penalty area to embarrass the Coleraine defence by heading to the net. 1-0 in the 16th minute. The play was one way, with the home side claiming a penalty in the 38th minute. Michael Halliday going down in the box when he was just about to shoot. On a second look, the referee probably thought it was accidental, and he was probably right. Shortly afterwards, the hottest striker in the Irish League showed why many are calling for Sammy McIlroy to give him a chance. Andy Smith with the header. A good save too from Davy O'Hare, so it remained 1-0 at the break. On a rare Coleraine attack in the second half, there was controversy in the Glentoran penalty area. First with a suggestion of a penalty not given, and then a heavy tackle by Jody Tolan on Mark Glendenning, which infuriated his Glentoran teammates. 2 yellow cards were eventually shown after the referee had managed to calm it all down. It was a niggly game with no love lost between the 2 sets of players, but a victory in the end for Glentoran and their rock-solid defence.
You brought the sort of scenes that the football authorities had hoped were a thing of the past, as fans clashed on the pitch. Order was eventually restored, but the trouble overshadowed what should have been a great soccer showpiece. It was honours even at 1 each after the first half hour, but then Portadown's John Conbury was sent off for pulling at Andy Smith as he headed for goal. Gary Smith fired in a free kick, and the Glens' rout was underway. Just before half-time, Scott Young chipped the ball for Darren Armour to score with a delicate header. After the break, Armour was on the score sheet again with the help of Tim McCann's pass. That made it 4-1, and if the game wasn't already out of Portadown's hands, it certainly was when striker Vinnie Arkins unluckily became their second sending off after a tackle on Mark Glendenning. Glentoran knew it was their day, and they added a 5th goal when McCann crossed for Darren Lockhart to head in. And there was still time for Armour to collect his hat-trick and leave the final scoreline a surprising Glentoran 6, Portadown 1.
Minutes after the final whistle, there were ugly scenes as over 100 fans from both clubs clashed on the pitch. Stewards tried hard to keep the fans apart, but some people received slight injuries, and one steward required medical attention for a gashed head. Both clubs are now determined to deal with the troublemakers, and today IFA Secretary David Bowen said the IFA is deeply concerned about the events following the semi-final, which tarnished the name of local football. We now await reports from the various health and safety inspectors. Their observations will then be assessed by the Senior Clubs Committee before deciding on a course of action. In the one-sided tie itself, 2 Portadown players were sent off. Darren Armour was Glentoran's man of the match with a hat-trick in the 6-1 win.
Pictures and disgraceful scenes at Mornview Park this afternoon. 2 sets of supporters on the pitch. You can see for yourself there, the stewards trying to intervene. We haven't seen pictures like these in Irish League football for quite a while. And sadly today, these will be the pictures that make the headlines. Coleraine win at the Ballymena Showgrounds, Glentoran's excellent win over Portadown. have been overshadowed, I would say, somewhat anyway, by these fairly ugly scenes at Mornview Park, and certainly there will be security matters looked at after this match. You can see one supporter being helped off from the pitch there after violence at Mornview Park this afternoon. We can go live to Mornview Park and join Jackie Fullerton. Jackie.
Yes, thank you very much indeed, Stephen. 6-1 to Glentoran. They're into the final, but as you say, disgraceful scenes at the end. Both sets of fans clashing. The stewards were doing their best. A few people were injured. A few people were hit. I think a steward was also injured, but the stewards did a very good job. And I have to say it was quietened down very quickly, but it should not happen. And I really don't know why some people go to football matches to cause trouble. On the happier side, though, Glentoran are through. Gary Smith is with me, got one of the goals. And Gary, a surreal situation today with two players being sent off from the Portadown side.
Yeah, Portadown started off very well. We managed to knuckle down. They went 1-0 up, but we were lucky enough, I think, to score within a minute. We got a penalty. I don't know how long after we got the first man sent off, and we scored from the resultant free kick, and then we sort of felt like we were going to get the grips and hold them out. 3-1 up at half time. I think there was only going to be one winner.
Yeah, and the important time was just before half time. Your free kick put it 2-1, and then just before the break, Darren made it 3-1. That was the important time.
Yeah, we made it 3-1. I thought the front two at the start, it was going to be hard for them, but we weren't giving them much support from the back. We couldn't really get out. We were hitting long balls at them. We managed to sort of squeeze them up, and I thought they did a great job, both Darren Armour and Andy Smith.
Yeah. Gary, thanks a lot for joining us. Back to
Glentoran's Gary Smith has had an outstanding season, earning praise from the local media. And for one photographer, the Belfast Telegraph's Roy Smith, capturing his son's performances on camera has been especially fulfilling. But on the pitch, they insist they're just photographer and footballer, not father and son.
I suppose when I was younger, through the years I got used to it. I would see him probably just, as we're warming up before the match, and then you sort of forget about it, like everybody else who's probably on the stand. You just have to concentrate and getting 3 points.
And Roy, is it difficult for you, obviously, to be impartial and take photographs of all areas of the pitch, not just follow your son around the pitch?
No, it's I've been at this job so long now, it's very easy. I mean, when he's on the pitch, he's not my son, he's just another player. I sometimes my pictures of him will appear in the paper, but it's judged on merit, and I don't make the judgment. I send them in and they're made on the picture desk. So I don't find that any difficult. He's just another player.
And do you get a fair amount of stick at all, Gary, whenever your picture does appear in?
Oh, I do. My dad usually would do it for the Irish Saturday night. Then when it goes into the Sundays, it would still get stick. But little do they know there's other photographers for the Sundays, so I can always get stick anyway. Once your picture appears, so you get used to it.
It's Institute tomorrow for Glentoran, and a win there would hand them the league title. And in this professional age, the players would be well rewarded, of course. But Gary has actually been on a goal-scoring bonus from a young age.
He started off on the left wing and he got a few goals, but then when he became a defender, he didn't get so many. So that's when I started to sponsor him for goals scored. So now that he's a defender, I don't have to pay so much. But he's doing very well. He's had 5 goals for the Glens this year. And last year, in one period of 8 days, 3 matches in an 8-day period, he scored in all 3 matches. So inside just over a week, I had to find 3 sponsorship fees, which is a bit tight on salary.
I suppose you're just as well, Louise. Your son's not Andy Smith, it's Gary Smith rather than Andy.
Well, Andy Smith would have had me broke.
Well, surely if Gary scores again tomorrow to secure the third of 4 possible trophies for the Glens this season, his dad won't begrudge him his small fee. Graham Little.
The management game is a stroll in the sunshine for Roy Coyle. After 10 league title wins with Linfield, his first with Glentoran was 4 years ago. Another is on the way, but he's not complacent about tomorrow's game at Institute.
No, it does you favours in this game, Jackie. We will have to be at our best to get a result. I know Paul Haggerty well. He played under me at Derry. The fellow's a winner, and he'll have instilled that in his players.
Andrew Kilmartin highlighted here. His registration affair saw Glentoran deducted 12 points, and in September they were rock bottom of the Premier League. But Coyle's men dug in, and a long unbeaten run saw 2 trophies won along the way. Eventually they got the points back, but it had been a tough time for the boss.
It was probably the lowest point that I've ever had in my managerial career, because a lot of my credibility was coming into question, and I had to stand up and be counted. but most importantly, the players believed in me and trusted in me.
Glentoran have already beaten Institute 3 times this season, but before the anticipated party tomorrow, there are still some nerves.
I think I'll have to sleep in the spare room, make sure I get to sleep, and make sure my wife gets to sleep.
With so much at stake, it was a subdued Glentoran squad who arrived early morning at the Park Avenue Hotel in Belfast. A few hours to kick off. The players confident but cautious.
Big day, you know, it's a big incentive obviously, you know, it's not every day you have a chance to win the league title. All the boys are very relaxed, you know, we went for a wee bite to eat there and got a couple of bottles of Lucas in, and we're just going to go in and relax, and then have a bit of a quiz or something on the bus on the way down, and just try and take it as an ordinary day.
I'm just going to take it as if it's any other game, you know, just go out there, get the job done, hopefully 3 points and the championship, you know.
After that, a 2-hour bus journey to Drumahoe and Institute. All the talk was how the Glens would win at a canter, but Institute had warned they would be out to spoil the championship party. Despite that, the 3,000 or so Glens fans were already in party mood.
Just push on there, please.
As to the game itself, there was no stopping Glentoran. All along they had hoped for a good start, and boy did they get it. On 56 seconds, Tim McCann connecting and driving the ball home through a ruck of players. It was just what Roy Coyle's men needed, and there was more to come. On 8 minutes, Young floated the ball in, and there was Darren Armour to head past the helpless John Conley. Number 3 came courtesy of Colin Nixon. The game was over. The 21st championship was in the bag, and Glentoran could afford to sit back and relax. In the second period, they confirmed their top billing with yet another goal, this time from Andy Smith. His 37th of the year. What a season he's had. Glentoran were home and dry. Roy Coyle and the fans could hardly wait for the party to begin.
And we deserved it, you know what I mean? The boys showed there. We weren't going to give up until the final whistle, no matter how many games there was to go, you know, and we deserved the league title.
As far as I'm concerned, because of the circumstances, I think it's one of the greatest achievements ever in the Irish League. Because to have 12 points deducted, you could have just fell apart and be thrown out of the CIS. But I'm running out of superlatives for these guys. They just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And long may it last until the 3rd of May.
Fantastic day, great day for the supporters and great day for the lads, and we've got our rewards. It's been a hard season. After the disappointment the last season, we've got our rewards and we're delighted.
After Drumahoe, it was back to their Belfast hotel on Saturday evening for the Glens, a chance for the manager and his team to reflect on a long day, a long season, but with the cup final still to come, perhaps even
knowing
more.
A win would clinch the Premier League title, and the duly delivered with a touch of style. And for the large travelling support, it was a time to celebrate. At the final whistle, it was party time for the 2,000 Glentoran fans. After a 4-year wait, the Glens were league champions again with 4 games to spare. And the players, the heroes, were lifted shoulder high after clinching their 3rd trophy of this remarkable season. In the game itself, Glentoran wanted an early goal to settle the nerves, and right on cue, Tim McCann found the net with less than a minute gone. After 7 minutes, it was 2-0. Darren Armour with the finish. The bubbly was on ice. On 16 minutes, those champagne corks must have been popping when defender Colin Nixon somehow found a way through for number 3. Champions of 2003, the young fan's T-shirt was spot on. A seemingly calm manager Roy Coyle must have known it was in the bag. But his team was to get another minutes from the end, Andy Smith's 35th of the season, and then it was bedlam of the happy variety. The Glens were champions for a 22nd time.
It's unbelievable, Jackie. I mean, the gaffer wanted us to get out of the traps and get a good start, and we couldn't have done it any better than that, than getting the goal in the first minute, you know. So and then we just went on from strength to strength.
And Darren, 3 up in 16 minutes. You couldn't have written a better script.
It was frightening for the boys. I thought the team's been superb all season. Every player in the team's been superb. We've a big squad. There are a lot of players missing today. There are a lot of quality players.
What a season it's been.
Oh, it's been fantastic, Jackie.
I think we thoroughly deserve the league championship. We'll enjoy the day, we'll enjoy the night, and then we'll look forward to the Irish Cup final.
It's Coleraine in that Irish Cup final. Can the Bandsiders prevent a Glens clean sweep of 4 trophies? The pride of East Belfast will think not.